So I got a bit of free time here. I'm, for once, early to something I'm supposed to attend. So I thought I'd use this time to make a little point. And that is this. I've been looking online and came across some people debating on the origins of the universe. And I'm a little bit hesitant to join these debates because nobody really wants to learn. Everyone just wants to win. Generally, that's what it's like. It's like everybody's there for the sole purpose of just winning winning the argument. So I have no interest in joining a team, joining the winning team or joining a team of the view that's right or something. Seems like so much of that is going on in this world today, and with politics, it's like one team versus another team, and jeez, it's kind of a mess, isn't it? Anyway, so a point I wanted to make was this, is that for those intelligent people that are actually after truth, not simply trying to join the creation or the accident team, to consider this. This is just something for those intelligent people who are not team-oriented, but wanting to know truth, wanting to know reality, wanting to become self-realized. It's something for them to consider, okay? So, when people speak of the origins of the universe, like the modern theory that's being taught in schools, which is influencing a lot of these people that join these forums, what they're saying is that the world came into being, and the universe came into being by a chance combination of molecules. Molecules came together and formed everything that we see around us. It's just a combination of chemicals. That's what they're saying. So one point that I want to make, that those that adhere to that philosophy, those that stick to that philosophy, might want to consider that there is a scientific law. It's called the law of entropy. It's also known as the second law of thermodynamics. And also Albert Einstein, none other than the Albert Einstein, called it the supreme law of all science. And simply put, it just means that matter on its own turns into simpler and simpler forms of matter. So when there's when there's a living being interacting with it, then it becomes more and more complex. But when matter's on its own, it becomes less and less complex. So, for example, out of raw ingredients from this planet, humans were able to create this amazing iPhone. Pretty cool, huh? Somehow I don't even know how they make glass. But they made glass, rubber, metal, all these things came together to make this iPhone. Amazing, huh? I think it's pretty fucking cool. So, what happened was, this matter wasn't by itself. This iPhone didn't come to be by some accident. In order for an iPhone to get made, it necessitates someone putting it together, or at least a someone. In this case, of course, it's multiple someones. So, this needs to happen. In order for complex things to happen, people need to put it together. And if they leave it alone, what happens is it just becomes less and less complex. In other words, it starts to break apart, starts to break down, corrode, and gradually, over a long period of time, it goes back to its original simple. It just becomes more simple and more simple, and goes back to its original simple state, dirt, right? Or some version of dirt, okay? So that's what happens. That's a scientific law. Matter on its own tends to become less and less complex. So in schools, we'd like to think that when we're being taught about science, it's people talking about experiments that they've done and can therefore prove, and now they're teaching us what they've found by their proofs, right? And of course, for some science, this is the case, but not all. In the case of philosophizing about the origins of the universe, these so-called scientists have completely abandoned good science, like the second law of thermodynamics, and have replaced good science with fairy tales. So they say that matter ignored its own law, the only time it's ever done that, and has come together and on its own and become more and more complex. So that is a direct contradiction to their own scientific law. Okay? In order for this world to be so complex, in order to not contradict the scientific law of thermodynamics, the second law of thermodynamics, there needs to be somebody dealing with it. In other words, there needs to be somebody working with matter in order to create this universe, to create this world, which are all complex organizations of matter, complex systems. If you look at your body, you have all these complex systems, digestive systems, nervous systems, reproduction systems, immune systems, all these complex systems that work within our body, right? We didn't make them. We don't know exactly how they work. I mean, all we do is put the food in our mouth, and then it automatically digests, right? We didn't make that whole system up. It was there. It was designed in it, right? So just because we don't see a designer doesn't mean that the designer's not there. We can see the designer because there's design, you know? Whenever you have a complex system, there has to be a designer. It can't happen by accident. The chances are mathematically impossible. It's an impossibility for such a complex system to happen by accident, not only once, but over and over and over and over again. It's a mathematics. There's no use of even saying it's highly improbable. It's impossible. You know, just to give you an example, just a simple invention like my sunglasses here. Okay, so in order for these sunglasses to exist as sunglasses, somebody has to put them together, right? Now, someone can, and this is not a very complex design. I mean, come on, you just gotta, if you have the raw ingredients, it's just a matter of maybe 20 different operations. Screw this in here, put this there, you know, it's not that complex. Maybe it takes about 20 bits of information to put these together, right? So if I were to tell you that these sunglasses came into being by accident, because it's such a simple design, there's, I'd say, a very slim chance, but I mean, I'd have to say it's impossible because I have some common sense. But just for the sake of argument, you could say that this happened by accident. This accidentally just got written Ray-Ban P. Accidentally got written here by accident by someone shaking it around in a box or something, and just in the perfect spot so it doesn't blur doesn't get in the way of my vision. And these nose guards or these nose fitter thingies just amazingly happen to be put there in the right spot. I mean, I'd be really pushing it if I said that if I were trying to convince somebody that these happened by accident, right? So, but this is a very simple design, so it's kind of probable, right? In a sense, it's not probable, but it can be said to be maybe possible, 1 in a quadrillion chance, right? Now, this iPhone, it is a lot more complex than those sunglasses. Therefore, the chances of it coming together by accident is infinitely, or maybe not infinitely, but practically infinitely greater that it could happen, I mean less. The chances are less that it could happen by accident, by a long way, right? You understand that? Because it's so complex, right? So the more complex the system is, the less chance it had come together by accident, okay? So this body, just this body alone, is so complex. We're still trying to figure it out, and it's amazing the things it does. It heals itself, you know. When a virus comes in, it fights off the viruses, and you know, it just works. Like you put food in your mouth, it digests, and it gives you energy, and it doesn't just turn into a blob, but it turns into a shape with hands, and there's eyes. That the whole complex way eyes work, and I mean, it's the eyes that I have are better than the camera lens that I have. You know, the eyes on the camera, for example. The camera, I mean the phone, the fucking camera, right? So it takes a while. I mean, I focus my eyes, and my eyes get used to low light, or they can see in low light better than this camera can, right? And so there's really good technology here. So it's actually been measured before in information bits. Even a single-celled amoeba, the smallest of organisms, I don't know if it's the smallest, but for the sake of this video, it's the smallest. Even that little amoeba can be said to be, there's a necessity of a huge, billions and trillions of times more information needed to make that function than an iPhone, for example. So I've read this quote, this finding before. I don't know the exact numbers, but just a single-celled amoeba takes so much information bits to function, right? And much more than even the most complex computer. So my point is that it's not simply an improbability that chemicals came together to form this complex world that we live in. It's a mathematical impossibility. In order for complex things to happen, there must be a designer behind it. It must happen by design. Just because you can't see the designer doesn't mean the designer isn't there. I mean, I can't see the designer of this iPhone. I don't know who it is. I don't know who designed it. But I know someone did, because it's a complex design and it can't happen by itself. So I see this complex universe, and I see that there is great design, and therefore this points to a designer. So that's something to think about. I hope you found it interesting. If you would like to see more of our videos centered around yoga philosophy, yoga knowledge, please subscribe to our channel and hit the notification button so you can be alerted when our new videos come out. Thank you very much. Namaste.